So I believe that we are drawn back in by way of engineering to narcissism and rhetoric. And I think that is what scientists find after belaboring throughout lifetimes over and over again, is that they are stuck in this strip, this Ouroboros. And there's nothing that frees us, and even more so, that it's built into the genetic propensity, adenine, cytosine, guanine, thymine, and uracil, to re-scramble and reconstruct the idea that there is change. The idea, you see, everything is based on ideation. And like Credo Matwa discussed in his famous long interview with David Icke, this interview was, in its entirety, was something like 6 to 8 hours long. I was fortunate enough to watch most of that 12, 15 years ago, and I could find that full interview. But it really gets into this, because what you find with this so-called last Zulu chief, if you will, like one that passed down the traditions and spoke of the oral traditions that were passed down from one chief to the next to preserve the story of the reptilians, of the hermaphrodite beings, humans, and of this cave system that was developed, that these hermaphrodites would enter into supposedly by choice and come out either as women or as men, right? And that they were existentially fixated on the nuance instantly of the physicality, right? And there's a lot of discussion and description about this that became an integral part of the folklore, as opposed to the fact that when we're faced with this statement by Friedrich Nietzsche, supposing truth be a woman, and beyond good and evil, and to ironically, under his critique, one of the women that he most likely critiqued closest to him, his sister, would in fact be the one who took over and began to amend his works for women's plight, for women's sake, right? Thank God she wasn't able to get her hands on very much, right? And thank God you could see full well the genius that Nietzsche stated. I mean, he had to be taken out, right? He had to be taken out and forget himself. He was too toxic, too venomous, too dangerous to the agenda. And so I believe that this coterie, this coven, even from a spiritual sense, beyond the veil, this witch's code that thinks it's in charge, along with all other, we have to say it what it is, the spiritual suggests a liminal place. A lot of what Robert Bigelow has studied and discussed as far as life beyond the carnal or the corporeal, right? In his statements that nothing really changes, right? That we are sort of fixed in these states. So this isn't a natural flow of ontology. This is, again, a conduit or a strip that turns and spins back into itself, re-realizing itself and spinning in order to avoid redundancy, or the feeling of redundancy.